Welcome back to NBK Tech World. This lesson will be a review of everything we've done so far. If you already feel comfortable with all the previous lessons, you can skip this video. Otherwise, let's keep on going. So, going back to the beginning of the course, we learned that every major browser contains a browser console, and in my case, right now I'm using Firefox. We can open up the console and we can type JavaScript commands here, and we have an interpreter that will give you the result on the spot. So the first thing we learned was how to print a message to the console. We learned about the console object that has a method, and that method is called log. So remember, when we have functions do something. They take some input, they do some processing, and they return, give you back some output. That's the general idea of functions. Now, we learned also that when we have a function, and when that function belongs to an object, in this case the console object, we can call that function a special name called method. So you might hear the terms function and method used interchangeably, but there's that slight difference. So if the function is by itself and it's not tied to any object, it is not really a method. But if it is tied to some object, you can call it method. Anyways, let's keep on going. Let's do the review. So essentially, the function will take an argument, which is kind of the input. So you have to tell it what to print to the screen. We can just print any message we want using a string. A string is a set of characters enclosed by quotes. By convention, I'm using the single quotes convention, but mind you, there are other types of quotes like the double quote and the backticks, and they all have slight different behavior. We haven't really learned in detail about those, but just keep in mind anything under quotes, think about strings, okay? So the function will produce this printout to the console with whatever you gave as a string here. So in this case, we got hello world. All right? So that's how we started. Then we learned about the concept of variables to store information. So we can define or declare a variable and then define it with a value in two ways. And the first way is with a const keyword. We can define, for example, a variable called name. And to that, let's assign a string to it. Let's call it whatever your name is. I'll just call it my name. Right? We learned that this string will be stored in this variable called name. And because we use const, that value can only be assigned once. So if I try to change name like this, some other name, we're going to get an error because invalid assignment to const. And that's because the const, if you declare a variable const, it will only allow you to assign a value once. If you want to be able to change the value of the variable name again, like I tried to do here, you have to use another keyword, and that's the keyword let. So if you say let, for example, let's create another variable called age. I'm going to give an arbitrary number, okay? So let age be 35. So the variable age contains the value 35, which by the way is what kind of type in JavaScript? That's a number, okay? It's not within quotes, it's just a number by itself, so it's type of number, okay? Remember the type of operator? You can type of and put in whatever you want to find out the type of, and it gives you a number. So we also learned that, right? So going back to the let, if I try to change age to something else like 23, notice that now it works. There's no error like before. And if I see what's inside age, it's exactly 23, the new value. So that's because we use the word let. So if you want to be able to assign the value to the variable age more than once, not just the first time like we did here, you use let. My advice is to always start out with const, and if later, as you program and add more code, if you feel that's necessary for the variable to be changed, you should change the const to let in the declaration. Alright, so That's it for variables. And then we talked about the numbers and operations on the numbers, basic math, that kind of stuff. So I'll be pretty quick with that. I think you got the point. We can do mathematics here, right on the console. 23 minus 11 gives you 12. And 20 divided by 5 gives you 4. 7 times 3, 21. And you can do addition, 9 plus 2, 11, right? We learned about parentheses. If you have 3 times 4 plus 8, but if you do it like this, because of the precedence of the operators, the 3 will multiply 4 first. If we actually intended for the 4 to be added to 8 first, you would have to add the parentheses, right? This way you're forcing the addition to be the first thing. There'll be 12. And then you do 3 times 12, which is 36. If you didn't have that, right, you're going to get something else because the multiplication always takes precedence over addition. So we get 12 plus 8, which is 20. Totally different value, right? We also learn about some things like if you try to divide by 0, what do you get? You're going to get infinity. If you take a number that's non-zero and divide by 0, but if you take 0 and divide by 0, you get NaN, which means not a number, okay? This is not a number. So if you use type of, let's see what we get. So 0 divided by 0, wow, it's a type of number. Okay, all right. So, whoops, I accidentally opened the other window. But continuing, here type of, to find out what the type of this guy is. You can see it's also a number. So both these guys seem to be a number. Okay, so you have hello world. If you have a number within strings, it's actually a string, is not really a number. So we learn also about that because 3 is not really equal to 3 if you use the triple equals operator, right? Because the triple equals, the strict equality, it compares not only the contents but also the type of each operand. Operand is whatever's next to the operator here. So in this case, this left-hand side operand 3. So 3, this is a number. There's no quotes. And on the right-hand side, there's a number, but it's within quotes. So this guy must be a string. But a string is not really a number, so this guy is strict equality saying going to be false. But if you have double equality, double equals, that's not so strict. So it's actually going to give you what? Is 3 equal to the string 3? It's going to be true because it only compares the contents. It takes this guy, okay, let's try to make it a number because you have a number within string, so it tries to convert to a number and it succeeds because it's just a number under quotes, and it's actually equal in content even though the type is different. We have a number on the left hand side, we have a string on the right hand side. So we learned that about those kind of comparisons, and you can use other kinds of operators. Greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. We also learned about the strict inequality, right? Which is the opposite of the triple equal sign. If you want to check if something is not equal to another thing in a strict fashion. Okay,